Donald Trump and his cabinet are spiraling out of control on Sunday. You have Trump cabinet members like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent admitting on live TV that the United States has many economic sectors that are currently in a recession right now. I think we all knew that to be the case, but to hear Bessent talk about that was quite revealing. Now, this follows the Great Gatsby themed party that Donald Trump and his cabinet hosted at Mar-a-Lago. I think the slogan was "A little party never killed nobody." This as the Trump regime is trying to tear healthcare away from 20 million plus Americans. This as 42 million Americans risk losing their SNAP benefits. And then we got this data that dropped this morning. So 1 year before the 2026 midterm elections, Democrats lead Republicans in the fight for Congress by 8 points. 50% to 42%, the largest lead for either party on the congressional ballot in an NBC News poll since the 2018 midterms. Now, here was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on CNN as we head into Tuesday's massive elections on November 4th, where there are major governor's races, there's the New York mayor's race, there's Prop 50, and so many state legislative races as well. Here, Bessent admits on Sunday that there are many economic sectors currently in the United States that are experiencing a recession. Here, play this clip.
But do you think that the U.S. is at risk of a recession if the Fed does not continue to drop rates?
I think that we are in good shape, but I think that there are sectors of the economy that are in recession, and the Fed has caused a lot of distributional problems with their policies. I wrote a 7,000-word essay on that.
And then Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is asked about Donald Trump continuing to golf on the taxpayer dime, to hold these Great Gatsby roaring 20s themed parties. And what do you think Bessent does? Oh, he blames former President Obama. Yeah, that's what he does. Here, play this clip.
Obama is out on the campaign trail, and not surprisingly, he's been pretty critical of President Trump. Take a listen.
He has been focused on some critical issues like paving over the Rose Garden so folks don't get mud on their shoes, and building a $300 million ballroom. And if you don't get an invitation to the next White House shindig, you can always watch the festivities on Trump's live feed on Truth Social.
Now, these comments came within a day of the president hosting a Gatsby, a Gatsby-themed Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago while SNAP benefits are set to run out. And you can understand the general theme. I've heard Republicans even express concern about the general optics here of parties and lavish ballrooms and such, while a lot of Americans are hurting. What's your response?
My response is that the Democrats should reopen the government. And, I believe President Obama played a record amount of golf of any president. So, I'm not sure why he's out there throwing stones. And, that it's unfortunate. We've got 52 Republican senators who have voted to reopen the government, 3 brave Democrats, and I'm calling here on 5 moderate Democrats to be heroes. Let's reopen the government.
This week.
Then you had MAGA Mike Johnson making his rounds this morning on state regime media and other networks. And here he was asked about the Epstein files. And here's what he had to say. Here, play this clip.
But the Epstein thing is a complete red herring. It's a distraction from what's going on right now and them causing harm to the American people with the shutdown. The Epstein estate documents are out. The Epstein files are out. 43,000 pages so far.
Seriously, MAGA Mike? You're saying that the Epstein files have been released? That's interesting because they actually haven't been released and Donald Trump is deep sixing them. And that's why you also don't want to swear in Adelita Grijalva, the Democratic Congresswoman from Arizona's 7th Congressional District, because she would be the 218th signature on the discharge petition. But do y'all see how these people just lie so easily? Oh, of course, all of the files have been released. we're being so transparent. No, we know that Donald Trump's name is all over the Epstein files, and that's why y'all are hiding the terabytes and terabytes that exist in these files. The surveillance footage, the phone calls, the witness statements, all of the FBI reports. Release the damn files. So how else are these MAGA Republicans spiraling on Sunday? Well, here you have Ted Cruz talking about former President Joe Biden as though Biden's currently the president. And then he talks about how, the biggest scandal ever, it's Arctic frost. We're going to come up with a name for something, our new conspiracy. Arctic frost, everybody, and that's worse than Watergate. I mean, as Donald Trump is out there committing some of the most heinous crimes, including war crimes every day, y'all are talking about something called Arctic frost that no one even knows what the hell you even mean. But this is what they're saying. Play this clip.
Well, sure. Maria, good morning. Good to be with you. Arctic frost is Joe Biden's Watergate. And in fact, in terms of abuse of government power, it makes Watergate pale in comparison.
Then you had Donald Trump's chief propagandist, Caroline Leavitt, on state regime media this morning, and she parrots the lie that America has brought in trillions and trillions of dollars just this past week. Just this past week, she says, when Donald Trump went to Asia and he met with Malaysia, Japan, South Korea, there are deals all over the place. Where are they? I don't know. They're all over the place. We can't see them. We can't actually read what the deals say. They don't have signatures on them, but just trust Donald Trump. And then there are trillions of dollars that have somehow come in, yet we can't afford to give Americans basic health care, yet we can't afford to fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Yet all of a sudden, we're saying that, according to Scott Bessent, which we all know, we're in this recession across many economic sectors, while Donald Trump claims he brought in $22 trillion. Here, play this clip.
Look at what President Trump has been able to do by leveraging tariffs and leveraging the might of the United States economy. We are the #1 consumer country in the world, and every country around the world knows it. It's because of tariffs that President Trump has been effectively able to cut so many tailor-made trade deals with so many countries around the country. Look at what around the world. I mean, look at what he just did in Asia. You had Malaysia, you had Japan, you had South Korea, trade deals all over the place, trillions of dollars of investments pouring into our country because of his effective use of tariffs.
They lie about everything. And then you had MAGA Republican Congress member Buddy Carter, and he was asked, he's like, where's Donald Trump right now? There's the elections coming up November 4th on Tuesday. You've got the MAGA Republican governor candidates in Jersey and Virginia. And then you have MAGA Republicans opposing Prop 50 in California. So I think it's a good question. If he thinks he's so damn popular, which he isn't, he has the lowest approval in presidential history. Why isn't he out there? Where is he? And you see these MAGAs lie about everything. The guy literally goes, the Republican Congress member goes, he's in Asia. And at least here, he's fact-checked and he's like, no, he's in Mar-a-Lago. Here, play this clip.
Where is President Trump? I mean, his nominees, his candidates in Virginia and in New Jersey are very strong MAGA supporters.
Absolutely they are. And President Trump is right there with them. And I can assure you.
But not physically.
Well, look, where's President Trump? He's in Asia. He's negotiating trade deals. He's negotiating world peace. To ask where President Trump is really just a
Well, he's at Mar-a-Lago technically right now. I mean,
Well, where has he been and where will he be? And certainly he is supporting these candidates, and we've got great candidates. I think Tuesday night's going to be a great victory for Republicans.
Then we saw more lies from MAGA Mike Johnson, who was asked, so where's the health care plan, MAGA Mike? What is your plan? Where does it exist? Marjorie Taylor Greene says that she hasn't seen the plan, and she's been complaining as well that the monthly premiums are about to skyrocket to $2,000, $3,000 a month. Could be $20,000, $30,000 a year increases in people's premiums, MAGA Mike. So where's your plan? And MAGA Mike's like, well, I can't talk to Marjorie about it on the phone because then it might leak. There's lots of leaks. Why wouldn't you want to tell people your plan publicly if it exists? Because there is no MAGA Republican healthcare plan. Here, let's play this clip.
Another thing that happened this weekend is open enrollment began for Obamacare. People are seeing a change in their premiums, essentially, if these subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year are not changed, renewed, handled in some way. Last time you were here, we talked about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had some real frustrations about this. Where is the Republican plan? I know you two had talked. Well, she posted this on X this week. She says, Johnson said he's got ideas and pages of policy ideas and committees of jurisdiction are working on it, but he refused to give one policy proposal to our GOP conference on our own conference call. Apparently, I have to go into a SCIF, referencing a protected intel sharing type place, to find out the Republican health care plan. And there are a lot of exclamation points there.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's absurd. Obviously, we're not going to be on a conference call explaining all of our plans and strategies for healthcare reform because they're leaked in real time. Literally, when I have a conference call with all my members, it's tweeted out by journalists. They're supposed to be private, but they're not. And so Marjorie knows that. She knows she can come into my office any day at any hour, and I'll lay out everything for her. The committees of jurisdiction, the people who specialize in all of this, have been working on this around the clock for a long time. In fact, we published 60 or 70 pages of healthcare reform ideas in 2019 when I was the chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus in Congress. Our ideas have been out there for a long time. We're formulating the final plan that will bring down premiums. There's only one party in America that is going to do that. Remember, the Democrats.
And here's what I've said before. I said there's kind of multiple ways to think about healthcare. There's the plan that I like, universal healthcare. That's what I like. Tax the rich more, have government pay for people's healthcare for free. It's a universal right. That's my view. The other view is the system we have now, Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. Before that, there were 20 plus million people uninsured. Insurance companies can discriminate people based on pre-existing conditions. You could just die if you get sick. I don't like that plan. I don't like people dying. This is what I'm trying to say. The one before Obamacare. And then you can have these Affordable Care Act subsidies to bring the prices down to keep healthcare somewhat affordable, but I still think it's too expensive. I'd like to see it look more like universal healthcare, but at least under the Affordable Care Act, people have health insurance. So what's your plan? What's the third plan that you have? Is it what existed before Obamacare when people would literally die and health insurance companies can discriminate based on pre-existing conditions? Is that what you want? Absolutely not. I mean, so tell us that is what they want, but tell us what your freaking plan is. I just think now more than ever, as well as I go through what's happening this morning, it's why we need reliable news sources now more than ever. And I'll give you this story right here that you probably aren't hearing in many other places. Turkey is now set to call for action on Gaza as soon as possible. And specifically, Turkey wants to host a Gaza meeting with Arab nations in the Middle East amid serious concerns that the ceasefire is not working, and that the ceasefire really never existed in the first place. I'll just share with you how the Jerusalem Post talks about it. The U.S. brokered Gaza truce, which left thorny issues like the disarmament of Palestinian militant group Hamas and a timeline for Israeli withdrawal from Gaza unresolved, has been tested by periodic violence since coming into force. Just think about that sentence right here. The thorny issues. You mean the issues? The issues? Should there be a two-state solution? Yes. There needs to be a free Palestine. How do you not address that in a ceasefire deal? The thorny issues like, should Hamas disarm? You think that's a pretty substantial issue as well. Israel withdrawing from Gaza, Israel allowing aid to flow into Gaza. The thorny issues were never addressed. You mean literally all of the issues? That's why I was very critical of this ceasefire, and I said, what the hell is this? Yet all of our corporate media, everybody wanted to say, this was a historic peace deal. I was like, what's the deal? They don't even address a free Palestine. They don't address a two-state solution. They don't address Hamas disarming. They don't address the fact that Netanyahu and Smotrich want to continue to build settlements in the West Bank and in Gaza. They don't address the aid flowing into Gaza. So what are we even talking about here? And by the way, one of the ways I identified this story to share with you this morning is through Ground News. And I just want to tell you briefly about it. I stay up to date on the news all the time in order to do this podcast and this show. by my favorite news source. It's called Ground News. It's a subscriber-funded app and news site, and every day they pull in thousands of articles from around the world and organize them by story, and then show you what the right's reporting, what the center's reporting, and what the left is reporting. It's a game changer. Because as an active, responsible citizen, especially in this current age, we need to get our news from reliable sources. But the reason I love Ground News, for every article they'll tell you, did a media conglomerate put this out? Was it an independent media source? And they also list the degree of factuality, which is interesting, as there's a lot of news sources from media conglomerates that have mixed or low factuality. Independent media seems to have a higher factuality, but you get all that with your Ground News Vantage subscription plan. That's the plan that I use. I especially like their blind spot feature, which highlights stories that could be disproportionately covered by one side or another side. And it's like the story that I just shared with you right there about Turkey hosting this summit. I just thought in general it was not getting enough coverage across all sides here. And that's why I think it's important, because to me, it shouldn't be this side or that side. It should just be bringing you factual news. So you can join us by going to ground.news/MTN to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that I use every morning. They are subscriber funded. You're not only getting a tool we all need today, but you're also supporting the work we do here on this YouTube channel. So go to ground.news/MTN, and we've pinned a link to purchase your subscription below. One more time, it's ground.news/MTN. Get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. All right, back to my reporting as well. You then had more Trump regime cabinet members showing up, like Brooke Rollins, who calls food stamps a broken and corrupt program. Should tell you everything they think about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. While they're out there throwing their Great Gatsby little partying never killed nobody, they're out there attacking SNAP. Here, play this clip.
What this conversation has allowed is a national spotlight on a broken and corrupt program. We found one guy in 6 different states getting a benefit. We found about 5,000 people that are dead who are still getting benefits. Like, it is time to drastically reform this program so that we can make sure that those who are truly needy, truly vulnerable, are getting what they need, and the rest of the corruption goes away and we can serve the American taxpayer. So we want to, number one, most important, get the government open, make sure the people that really need this money are going to get it. But guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. His name is Donald Trump, and this program will be reformed. We will hold people accountable, and we will be able to help those who really need it.
And we can make sure that the food that we do give them is even higher quality, because I'm all for that as well. Brooke Rollins,
and in addition, they're attacking the Affordable Care Act, which lots of Americans rely on for their health care and which they need. And could there be a better system? Of course there can be, but it's certainly better than what existed before Obamacare by far. And you also see all these Trump regime people attacking Medicaid and Medicare. They hate it all. The only thing they want to do is give tax cuts to billionaires, private jet and yacht tax exemptions. That's what they're doing. So is it a shock to you that by a 2-to-1 margin, Americans say Trump has gone too far in trying to expand the power of the presidency and lay off government workers? And by large margins, they say he's gone too far in sending troops into cities, attacking universities, and ending DEI programs? Or 3 in 5 Americans approve of the way he's handling all issues, including crime, the economy. He's underwater in every single issue. But, you know, I think going back to what I was talking about with Ground News, I think the media conglomerates are significantly to blame, as well. I just want to share with you the way Kristen Welker did this interview with Gavin Newsom. I mean, she asked, let me show you this question that she asked first. She goes, part of your tactic is to imitate some of what we see online from Trump. So you mimic him. First off, Newsom is mocking Donald Trump. He's mocking Donald Trump's behavior. But as Hemant Mehta says, Welker's idiotic question just shows you how the media expects Democrats to be role models for Republicans, while Republicans are allowed to get away with anything, behave however they want. Here, play this clip.
Each of those issues that you just mentioned, but it sounds like you're predicting a big night for Democrats on November 4th.
I am, and for obvious reasons. I mean, this is a historically unpopular president. His policies are even more unpopular than the president himself. In every core category, he's underwater, and he's a guy who promised to make us wealthier and healthier. We're poorer and sicker. Across the board, people are starting to realize that not only is our coffee more expensive, their beef is more expensive, but the cost of an automobile is more expensive. Since he became president, the cost of utilities, all the things he promised to solve day one, he hasn't solved. So his recklessness aside, his style aside, the substance he hasn't delivered. And that's why, again, we're here, Prop 50, because he knows he's going to lose the midterms, and he's trying to rig the election before one vote is cast.
Here was another clip right here from Governor Newsom's interview that I'd like to share with you as well, which again, I think Governor Newsom showing strength, moral authority, and exercising his formal authority as well. Let's play this clip right here.
You have been one of the most outspoken Democratic voices against President Trump, and part of your tactic is to imitate some of what we see online from President Trump. So you mimic his all-cap posts, you send out similar memes. Do you run the risk of normalizing that behavior?
Quite the contrary. The whole expression was to not allow it to be normalized. It was becoming normalized. All this, the normalization of deviancy across the spectrum of issues, but his communication, he's dressing up as the Pope, as Superman. He's putting his face on Mount Rushmore. He's saying, thank you. It's madness. And so I put a mirror up to that madness.
It reminds me of something Michelle Obama said once: when they go low, we go high. Is there still room for that mindset?
I would love to go back to that, but politics have changed. The world's changed. The rules of the game have changed. Now we have to rewrite the new rules. I'm trying to iterate. I'm in that process of doing that. But Michelle Obama also recently was interviewed about that comment, and she amended that comment about going high is also going strategic, meaning finding strategies to address concerns and anxieties. So she's evolved on her own foundational principle, but it's the right one. We're all better off, and we're all better off. This can't continue forever. All of us living in the state of fear and anxiety, on edge. And so, of course, we want to go back to some semblance of normalcy. But you have to deal with the crisis at hand. It's just been 10, 11 months of this presidency. We have 3 more years. Time to batten down the hatches. And it's time for us to change if we want things to change. And that's why our communication strategy has shifted.
Well, folks, there you have it. That's what's going on this morning. We'll keep you posted every step of the way here at the MeidasTouch Network. As always, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million, and thanks so much for watching.
New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.meidastouch.com.